This content is for self-awareness and educational purposes only. Please use your own discretion and seek professional guidance when, if needed.
Let me start with a pretty wild idea. What if the one thing we're all chasing, comfort, is actually the very thing that's making us sick? What if our entire quest to make life easier is, ironically, making our health so much harder?
So, the core idea we're digging into today, and this comes from the work of Jeff Krasno, is that our modern world, it's built for maximum comfort. But that world is completely out of sync with our biology. We've basically created a habitat that our bodies were never designed for, and the price we're paying is a wave of chronic illness.
I know what you're probably thinking. For years, we've heard nothing but reduce stress, avoid stress, manage it away. And look, that's definitely true for a certain kind of stress, but it's not the whole picture, not even close. To really get this, we have to totally rethink what stress even means.
Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of the issue. It's a concept that scientists call an evolutionary mismatch. And honestly, this is the key that unlocks why our super comfortable lives might actually be causing so much trouble. Just think about it for a second. For literally hundreds of thousands of years, the human body adapted to thrive in a world that was defined by scarcity, by constant physical movement, and by, occasional, really intense dangers. Our world today, it's the polar opposite. It's a world of total abundance, of sitting still, and of this constant low-level anxiety that never seems to go away. I mean, just look at this contrast. It's night and day, right? Our bodies evolved for times when food was hard to come by, which made us amazing at storing energy. Now, we've got unlimited calories available 24/7. We evolved to walk miles and miles every single day. Now, we just sit. Our bodies are designed to face a huge immediate threat, like a predator, and then have it be over. Now that threat is an email inbox that is literally never empty.
And we're not talking about a tiny little shift here. This is a massive, seismic change in how we exist. A shocking 80% of jobs in the US are now sedentary desk jobs. Inactivity has become our default setting, and our bodies are just not wired for that at all.
So how in the world do we fix this mismatch? Well, it starts by understanding that not all stress is created equal. There's a huge difference between the kind of stress our ancestors faced and the kind we face now, and an analogy really makes this crystal clear.
Here you go, the two sides of the stress coin. On one side, you've got good stress. It's intense, it's short, and it actually triggers responses in your body that make you stronger. But on the other side, you've got modern bad stress, that constant low-grade hum of anxiety that just never, ever shuts off.
Let's picture this. You're out on a beautiful trail, just enjoying the day, and all of a sudden you see a rattlesnake coiled on the path right in front of you. Instantly, before you even have time to think, your ancient survival software just kicks right in.
Your heart starts pounding, your liver floods your system with sugar for a burst of energy, your pupils get huge, and your focus narrows down to a single point, that threat. It's this beautiful life-saving chain of events, an adaptive response that's been perfected over millennia. You either deal with the snake or you get out of there, and then, and this is the most important part, it's over. Your body goes back to normal.
But here's the kicker. What happens when the rattlesnake is your mortgage payment, or a deadline at work, or just your social media feed? In modern life, the rattlesnake is always there. It never leaves the path. And that powerful stress response, which was designed to be short-term, becomes chronic. It never gets a chance to resolve. And that right there is where so much disease comes from.
Okay, so if the problem is too much ease and this chronic bad stress, the solution feels a little backwards. We have to intentionally, on purpose, bring the right kind of stress back into our lives. Krasno has a great name for these, protocols of inconvenience.
It's really all about doing hard things. You deliberately apply a short, intense stressor. Then you let your body rest and recover. And here's the magic. In that recovery, your body doesn't just go back to where it started. It adapts. It gets stronger and more resilient. You know the saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger? Well, that's a real biological principle called hormesis. A little bit of a stressor actually makes the whole system tougher.
And these don't have to be some crazy, complicated things. We're talking about stuff like cold plunges, or even just a cold shower, pushing yourself with intense exercise, lifting heavy things, going for periods without eating. And notice that last one, it's not all physical. Stepping up to have a tough but necessary conversation, that's another way you build this resilience muscle. See, when you build that physical resilience through these kinds of practices, it actually translates directly into mental and emotional resilience. The strength you build in the gym or that ice bath makes you way better at handling the stress that comes from your job or your relationships. It's all connected.
But this approach is more than just a few new habits. It really requires a huge shift in how we see ourselves and our health. It's about adopting a whole new philosophy, what Krasno calls the Dao of Health.
The first big idea here is impermanence. We tend to think of ourselves as these fixed things, right? We get a diagnosis from a doctor and we think, okay, well, this is who I am now. But your health, just like everything else in the universe, is always changing. It's not some fixed point you arrive at. And this little change in perspective, it changes everything. When you start to see yourself not as a finished product, but as this dynamic, unfolding process, you get your power back. A diagnosis isn't a life sentence anymore. It's just a piece of information in a process that you can actually influence.
The second idea is interdependence. We live with this illusion that we're all separate individuals, but our own bodies prove that's impossible. We are porous beings. Your health is a direct reflection of your environment, the food you're eating, the air you're breathing, the sunlight you get, the people you're around. You can't truly heal all by yourself, in a vacuum.
So what's the whole point of all this? What's the end game? It's not just about living longer, it's about completely changing the quality of those years. The goal isn't just a long lifespan, it's a long health span. A life that is full of energy and vitality, right up to the very end.
Krasno tells this really wonderful story about his daughter asking him what his one wish would be. And his wish wasn't for more money or fame or anything like that. It was that he and his wife would live to be 117 and 118, celebrating 100 years together, totally healthy and vibrant, and then just peacefully pass away in their sleep.
And that vision is such a powerful contrast to what usually happens. For so many people, the last 15 or 20 years of life are just this long, slow, painful decline spent managing a bunch of chronic diseases. It really doesn't have to be like that. The goal is to shrink that period of sickness, to live a full, active, awesome life, and then it ends.
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? Not to cheat death, but to fully live life. To get to the end, not as a broken-down machine, but as someone who has accumulated wisdom and experience, having lived vibrantly the whole way through.
And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important point. Most of the sicknesses of modern life, the heart disease, the diabetes, dementia, they're largely preventable. Our daily choices add up. As Krasno says, in this day and age, we are largely choosing the way we die. So the only question left is, what will you choose?